Of North Carolina. Notice that the waves are a little choppy, just a little, not too much. We are watching, of course, a tropical storm out in the Atlantic. That would be Leslie.
And let's get an update now on Leslie, and for that we turn to our hurricane specialist, Dr. Greg Postel, kicking up a lot of waves and maybe some more too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that was very cool in that picture that you just showed, because you saw some of those, the larger waves had a larger spread to them. I mean, they were coming in at a longer period, and those are the ones that were rolling in. Those are the ones that are triggered. There you go. Those long period swells, the larger ones are coming to have a large distance between each of the crests. Those are the ones that are produced by Leslie, and the smaller ones are just the wind-induced little wave action near the beach. But definitely those waves will likely increase over the next couple of days. Let's look at Tropical Storm Leslie here. It's 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time advisory. Now again, tropical storm, downgraded from a hurricane earlier today. It's a 70-mile-per-hour storm, nearly stationary a long way from Bermuda, still over 400 miles south-southeast of Bermuda. And actually, if you look at it in the satellite image, you're really not looking too healthy right now. I'll show you what I'm looking at right now. The center of circulation is right about there. Most of the shower and thunderstorm activity, as has been the case for the last couple of days, is off to the east of the center. It's encountering some high altitude winds that are kind of blowing those storms off in that general direction. But also notice too, there's some interesting cloud features here. These little arcs coming out, those are downdrafts. Those are the leading edge. Those are gust fronts like we see in mid-latitude thunderstorms. Some dry air is getting in to Leslie, into some of the outer rain bands, outer showers and thunderstorm bands, and that's inducing downdrafts, these cool, dry downdrafts that are propagating outward away from the center. That is a sign that it is not strengthening and may have a hard time doing so, at least until that dry air goes away. And we think that there may be an opportunity for that over the next couple of days. Look at these waves, though. It is still, regardless of how it looks on the satellite and the fact that the winds haven't picked up, in fact they've come down, it's still producing huge waves. In particular, there's a buoy right here, 20 to 25 foot waves. That is about 75 miles away from the center. And then notice on the east coast, now these are the waves that we're looking at in that video. There are some 9-foot swells off the coast of North Carolina, 7 and 9 foot swells there. Those are the ones that are sort of rolling into the beach at very long intervals, and that's what we were seeing in the video there just earlier, and those will likely go up, we think, over the next day or two. And looking at the cone from the National Hurricane Center, this is Bermuda right there. So the cone has shifted to the right since yesterday, to the east, meaning that the center of Leslie will very likely pass to the east of Bermuda, perhaps more than 100 miles. But still, because it is such a large circulation and the tropical storm force winds extend outward over 150 miles in most of the quadrants, that Bermuda will likely experience tropical storm force wind gusts. So the weather could get gusty, certainly there in Bermuda, with definitely large waves rolling in there as Leslie moves off to the north. And then next week, Leslie continues to move off, maybe glancing here St. John's, Newfoundland as well. They might have some rough weather early toward the middle part of next week. Now let's look in the Gulf of Mexico, a little bit closer to home here. 90 L's and invest. That's because the National Hurricane Center is calling it a place to investigate, because they think maybe it's got a slight chance of development, but in fact their opinion has come down some in the last couple of days. It really doesn't look very good either, and the reason why is because there's where the center of circulation is, and here's where the clouds and the thunderstorms are. Those are sort of shifted off to the south there. So this is not likely to develop, we don't think, anytime soon, and may very well not at all, because over the next couple of days it will likely move off to the Florida coast and be picked up by a jet stream. So likely just a rain perhaps, and maybe even some winds with it as it moves on to Florida over the weekend. Now I'll send it back to you in the studio with Nick.
All right, thanks so much, Dr. Greg. And still ahead on Day Planner, we are tracking the threat for severe weather through the weekend. Plus, the answer to today's Nick's Weather Nuggets segment. If a hurricane or tropical storm does little or no damage, can the name be on the list of names year after year? Well, we'll have the answer for you in our Rhyme or Reason game. Stay tuned.